It's been a while, Resident Evil fans, but some exciting news has hit Resident Evil Requiem over the past several days and weeks. We're diving into the newly announced pre-order date, along with a new interview with the development team that gives us better insight into multiple aspects of the game, like the behavior of the zombies and enemies, the utilization of melee attacks, game progression, horror elements, and much more. So if you're a fan of Resident Evil and are itching for some more content to hold you over until we get some more details from a future trailer or press release, you are in the right place. As always, punch that like button into oblivion if you can't wait for Resident Evil Requiem. And if you're looking for just the right pick-me-up to help you conquer the last few months of the year, well, good news. Gamer Supps popular canned energy drinks are back in stock, my friends, so go ahead and use my affiliate code and/or the link in the description to help you save 10% off your order. We also got a bunch of new merch that just dropped as well, so use my affiliate link to secure 10% off your order across all items store-wide. In case you are interested in pre-ordering Resident Evil Requiem, well, this will come as great news to you, as Capcom just days ago on Twitter confirmed that pre-orders will begin in just a couple weeks from now on October 29th. In addition, Capcom will be releasing a video to celebrate the Resident Evil franchise as a whole, making clear that no new Resident Evil Requiem footage or gameplay will be shown. Not a shocker there, as we are likely to get the next major trailer, I imagine, around the Game Awards, as that is the next and last major gaming event of the year. But regardless, it's nice to finally have a date for Resident Evil 9 pre-orders, as I know that many of you have been wondering when pre-orders would go live for this title. I will be giving away a couple copies of this game right here on this channel, so stay tuned at the end of this month for details on the giveaway if you're interested. Alright, before moving on to the recent interviews and developer statements, you may have heard some of these updates from other channels or outlets that cover these things as soon as they drop, so I apologize if some of this stuff has been repeated before. I just got back from a lengthy trip abroad and decided to compile some of the more interesting new information from these post-TGS interviews and developer statements once I felt there was enough pertinent information to speak about. So again, I apologize if some of this stuff has already been discussed before from other channels. But let's waste no more time and get right into it. In the most recent issue of Famitsu, one of, if not the biggest, Japanese gaming magazines around, Resident Evil Requiem game director Koshi Nakanishi revealed a few things about the game that give us a better idea of what to expect. Now, because Famitsu doesn't upload its magazine articles right away to its website, this info from the magazine was compiled and posted by Dusk. But don't worry, we're not going over leaks and rumors here, as this guy is best known for leaks and unconfirmed information. According to this latest Famitsu article, director Nakanishi was said to have discussed the enemies in the game, and while these enemies are said to never be called zombies in the game per se, these enemies are said to be people who were infected by a virus that drives them to eat others. So basically, they are zombies without being referred to as such. Further, Nakanishi reportedly stated that these zombies are different than any other zombies in the Resident Evil series to date, stating that he didn't want the enemies to appear too similar to the enemies from previous titles. Having these enemies be more unpredictable and surprising was a key component to their design and implementation. So while this title does see the series return to the once T-virus infested hellhole in Raccoon City 30 years later, it sounds like the developers are interested in providing new viruses and enemies to help spruce things up for the series. Now, moving on to something quite shocking and interesting, Nakanishi reportedly told Famitsu that Resident Evil Requiem does not have melee attacks, like punches or kicks, and instead, the team prioritized, as Dusk put it, resourceful combat loops more about survival. Now, like with anything here, some of this stuff could very well be mistranslated or misunderstood, not solely in part to the article being written in Japanese, but this statement could also be taken out of context. We'll have to keep an eye on this one, but seeing as the post highlights melee attacks, like punching and kicking, being absent, that doesn't rule out the possibility of knife attacks returning here, or other melee weapons that may be acquired deeper into the game. seeing as Dusk Golem is so adamant that Leon S. Kennedy will play a major role in this game. I find it hard to believe that Leon wouldn't at least have some melee skills to show off here, regardless of his older age now. But again, Capcom has been very tight-lipped about Leon and if he even shows up in Requiem to begin with. As Grace is the only confirmed protagonist that we know of thus far, I can understand that she may not be able to punch or kick, as Capcom has been very clear about Grace's initial fragility and inexperience at the start of the game, but yeah, fascinating stuff nonetheless, provided this statement is not out of context. Moving on, Nakanishi believes Resident Evil 9 is more akin to Resident Evil 1 and 2's progression, where, unlike the more linear, forward momentum you get in games like Resident Evil 4, 5, and Village, Resident Evil Requiem is more about exploring, backtracking, gradually unlocking more locations, and solving puzzles, something that RE1 and RE2 were known for in particular. Now, in terms of horror and action, Nakanishi reportedly noted that the title feels distinctly more familiar to Resident Evil 2 Remake, as that title perfectly blended tense survival horror with some action that complemented the overall tone of the game. Making mention that Requiem has more action than Resident Evil 7, but less action when compared to the likes of Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil Village, this statement from Nakanishi lines up nicely with what he has stated in previous interviews, where he wants more of a survival horror focus on the title without the title coming across as an action horror game. That said, Nakanishi later in the interview reportedly mentions that there would be a, quote, new way to fight enemies in Resident Evil 9, which is hinted to be tied to the various weapons and tools players have at their disposal. Now, apparently, there will be some sort of explanatory video coming at some point in the future that will go over this to avoid any misinterpretations, so we may potentially be looking at a video going over this new mechanic, if we can call it that, in the future. Capcom did say in an interview at Gamescom something similar to a new mechanic coming to Resident Evil 9 that the team is excited to share in the future, so maybe this is what Nakanishi may be referencing here? Now, to finish up the interview, Nakanishi reportedly told Famitsu that Capcom is committed to the future of Resident Evil and is interested in continuing to bring new and exciting ideas to the franchise moving forward, which is not a surprise at all, considering Resident Evil is Capcom's most lucrative and successful franchise to date. Resident Evil Requiem is a game that not only celebrates the series' past by bringing the franchise back to perhaps its most iconic and memorable location in Raccoon City, but it will also be paving the way for future entries going forward, so it's no surprise to hear this from Capcom. Now, let me know down in the comments what you make of all this stuff from Nakanishi in this Famitsu article. Does any of this make you worried about the game, or do you think this stuff is sounding right up your alley? Sound off in the comments, and then be sure to follow me over to this video as we go over the ever-growing likelihood of what will probably be the second Resident Evil Remake trilogy and which games would be included. Got nothing else for ya. I look forward to seeing you all real soon in the next one.